Anybody want to list more?
Yes.
We want to list more, right? Okay, good. Not only do we want to list more, well, not only do we want more listing opportunities, but we want to earn those opportunities when we're there, right? We want to make sure that we can earn those listings. Who has lost a listing? Went to a listing appointment and didn't get it. Okay. What happened?
They chose another agent.
Aside from the obvious answer, thank you, Lori,
No problem.
for filling in the obvious blank. No, what happened?
They wanted to save on commission.
So they chose a different agent because they didn't want to pay your full fee? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, they wanted a different agent because they wanted to save on commission.
They wanted to save on the commission. What else?
They changed their mind because they didn't like the price that it can be sold.
So they just opted out of selling?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can't do anything about that. I mean, if people decide that they don't want to sell their house anymore, fine. What we're talking about is making sure that we're working with committed prospects, no more suspects. Remember, we qualify people, right? And when we qualify buyers, of course, we have to know whether they're actually qualified to buy. When we qualify sellers, we have to know what? That they're actually committed to selling. And committed to selling means, and these are the words that I would be writing down, like I'm going to say words out of my mouth that you want to be saying too. So if you hear something, when you hear something, I'd write it down. Okay, unless you have just a photographic and a audiographic memory. Okay, are you committed to selling? Is the question you need the answer to, right? Because anybody here want to work with someone that's not committed? No. Of course not. That's a big waste of time. So what else? So they were not committed to selling.
They were committed, but they didn't like the market that's right now, and they decided to remortgage.
No, they are not committed.
There for another year.
No, a commitment to selling means I will meet the market as it is. That's what real commitment to selling is. I will meet the market. I have a motivation that is strong enough, and I will meet the market. That's what committed to selling is. Committed to selling is not, I'll sell if I get my price. That's not committed to selling. That's called what? A fishing trip. That's called a fishing trip. I'll sell if I can get my price. All right, but where'd that price come from? Like, where did their price come from?
From the compared to last year's sales before the new year when the market was much higher.
Right. Came from some prior time that was not the market as it is today. But guess what happened? That's in the past. We cannot, there's a 0% chance of doing anything about the past. We can't really bring the past into the future, into the present. We can only deal with the present. And so committed to selling means that I'm willing to meet the market in the present market environment. Otherwise, they're not really committed. Okay, that's okay. I'm not making them wrong. People are entitled to do what they want. It's their house, right? What I'm trying to make sure that we do is we don't spend time on suspects, but we have real prospects, real committed consumers. All right, why else didn't it sell? Marcus said they didn't want to pay my full fee. This one said they weren't really committed. Go ahead.
They were told a higher price by another agent, and that's what they wanted to hear.
I see. So another agent bought a listing. That's what that's called. Right. When an agent buys a listing, what are they doing? They're telling them what they want to hear.
Exactly.
Okay, they wanted to be lied to. Right? Go ahead.
I lose to the dominant agent in the neighborhood.
I lost to the agent who has the more substantial reputation than I do. Okay? Fine.
My family member is an agent.
Right, they went with the family member. Okay, good. Let's write all these down. Give it back to me real quick. So, commission, right, didn't want to pay. Not committed because of price. Family member. Let's call it I don't really love dominant agent. Right. Dominant agent would mean what? That they do more business than you in the farm?
Yes.
Yeah. Statistically speaking.
And he has for, been in that farm for a long time.
All right, so the more, let's call him the well-known agent.
Right.
Well-known agent and another agent
Bought the listing.
bought the listing. told them what they wanted to hear. By the way, did that listing sell?
No,
No. Okay.
for over a year. The second listing,
Why else did you lose the listing? Any other reasons?
The seller cannot capture enough net to close without having to pay to close.
Okay. So seller has to come out of pocket.
Correct.
Seller out of pocket. So what did they do, Marisol?
Decided to refinance.
Okay, so this turned out to be a refi. Okay. And when Irina, they were not committed because the price was too low. Did they refi also?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what
All right. Price too low. Why else did you lose the listing? Any other reasons?
The seller cannot capture enough net to close without having to pay to close.
Okay. So seller has to come out of pocket.
Correct.
Seller out of pocket. So what did they do, Marisol?
Decided to refinance.
Okay, so this turned out to be a refi. Okay. And when Irina, they were not committed because the price was too low. Did they refi also?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what
All right. Price too low. Anything else? Any other reason why you didn't get the listing? Can't think of any? What's that?
Wasn't prepared.
You were unprepared. Okay. Well, that's not an objection we can overcome, but it is something that we can do better at, which we're going to do here today. Okay. So, great. Where do we get listings from?
People who own homes.
Say it again.
People who own homes.
Yes, obviously.
People who know.
You guys are so good at the obvious answers here. It's like, let's put a Captain Obvious on you. Okay.
Marketing.
Right, so your number one source is going to be from the people you know that own homes. Let's start there, Paula. Does anyone here know someone that owns a house? Okay, are you talking to them regularly about their life as it relates to owning their house? Okay, so first order of business, write this down because I want to get not only help you earn the listings. Ron and I are going to role play that in a minute. He's going to be the agent. I'll be the seller because I want to see him work his magic. Is I want to just remind you where these listings are, in case you forgot. People you know that own houses, all of them need to be communicated with. All of them need to be communicated with. Now, some of you will say, I don't know what to say, and I don't have a conversation for you today. Okay? That doesn't make sense to me. You're a real estate professional. We help people move through life. Hey, friend, how's your life? How's things at your house? You happy with it? You thinking about moving? Try that. Just start there. Okay? Next is the people they know that own houses. Because don't forget, we build our business not with direct customers, but how? By referral. You are building a business by referral. What kind of business? By referral. Okay? If you know 100 people, you only have 100 at bats. But if you know 100 people that know 100 people and you've positioned yourself as the go-to for referrals, now you have 10,000 at bats. You get the math? Okay, so you're building by referral. What's the next way you get business? It's listings. No, listings. Where do they come from? Your geographic, right? Your geographic farm. Who has a geographic farm that they're actively working? I promise you, I swear to God, when you pick a geographic farm, you will get business from it. You will get business from it. Here's what I know for absolute certainty. If you don't pick one, there's no way you will. So you get to decide when you want the listings from your farm. Okay? It won't be the fast path, but the fast path isn't the sustainable path. Okay? So my advice is pick a farm, start investing now. The time is going to pass anyway. And you too can become the most well-known agent in your geographic farm. And then guess what happens? They call you. Okay, let's not forget that. They call you. Now you could wait, but that's you delaying and prolonging your success. Okay, where else do we get them from?
SOI.
We covered that already, Lori. That's the people you know.
Referrals.
We covered that also. Get with the program, people. Okay. You can call homeowners that might have a reason to sell. Right? Don't forget, there's a lot of people out there who might be trying to sell their house unsuccessfully. Who are they? For sale by owners. We already have evidence in the room here of that works. Right? That was our friend Adriana in the back there got her first listing for sale by owner. Right? That's how it works. You could call them all. Their information is available. Just call them. Who else? Expireds after they expire, not while they're listed. You could call people that don't live there. You could call people who live in Oklahoma because you're from Oklahoma, right?
First listing worked.
I know. I'm not surprised. Like you're surprised. I'm not surprised. This is how this shit works. Okay? You just have to make sure you do enough of the work so that the results will actually happen. Right? Most people quit before the results show up because you don't stay consistent long enough for the compound effect to start kicking in. Okay, where else do they come from?
You could call distressed properties or foreclosure.
Right, you could call, well, you can't call foreclosure because a property, once it's foreclosed, is already owned by a bank. Okay, you can call people who are, however, in default before they lose their house to the bank. You can do that. You can call people going through divorce. You can call people who are in probate. You can call people who are trying to rent their house, a for rent by owner. It's like, you know what? I don't want to really rent it. Forget it. I'll sell it. You can call people who are in tenant landlord court because the tenant, messed up my house or not paying a rent. I want to get them out of my house and I'm sick of being a landlord. Like there are so many people that you can call to get listings. Literally call them and they can say, sure, come on right over. You can list my house today or tomorrow or the next week. Where else do we get them from? Open houses are a source of listings. Knock on doors, invite people to come on by. Oh, well, we're thinking about selling our house. You're a great agent. Look at all this work you're doing, putting out 100 signs, having a whole event over here. I so love when I'm driving around and I see an open house with my company's name on it because that agent has a whole mess of signs out versus the agents when I drive by and there's like one sign. It's like nobody's going to fucking see your one sign. Okay? Now, by the way, I hope that's not any of you. I can't be all over this market on Saturdays and Sundays. Please don't be the agent that puts one sign out, 2 signs out. Like you want to have sign, 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 sign. You know why? More people to your open house. Where was the obvious answer? We missed the obvious answer. Where's the obvious answers? Okay, more people to your open house. But you know why else? Because home sellers see it. And they're like, wow, who's that agent? Putting out 100 signs or 50 signs or more than 1 or 2 signs, right? They say to themselves, that's what I want. I'm thinking about selling my house. I want the agent who's going to do more. Please don't be the agent who does less or who does just enough or who does just what's expected. Do more than what's expected. Do more than you expect of yourself, and I guarantee you'll have more opportunities for business. Where else do we get listings from? You could have relationships with attorneys, accountants, financial advisors. You could have relationships with other agents. You guys have all heard this before, right? Yeah. Just want to remind you that there is no shortage of available listings. Now, why do we want listings more than buyers?
Because you are employed when you have a listing.
Because you're employed when you have a listing. That's exactly right. Now, you're kind of employed when you have a buyer, because we do now have buyer-broker agreements, and so that is an assignment. But the probability of a seller listing who's committed is higher. It's just higher, okay? Why else do we want listings?
You can do both sides.
Because you can make 2 paychecks in one. I mean, give this girl a prize. That's the best part of it. Who's double-ended a transaction, gotten 2 paychecks out of one? How good does that feel? It's like the best thing ever. You know how many paychecks you get with a buyer? 1. You know how many paychecks you can get with a seller? You could get 4, right? Because I've got the listing, here comes the buyer, but oh, they need to sell their house after they buy this one, and of course my seller needs to buy a house. I just got 4 from 1. If I were an agent I would focus exclusively on getting listings. That is all I would do. In fact, if there were one thing that moved the needle more than anything else that I would want to have all of my time doing, it would be listing appointment after listing appointment after listing appointment. If that's all you ever did. Because guess what happens? The rest gets really easy to figure out. I mean, we'll help you with it. You put team in place, listing after listing after listing. So just make sure as you're looking at your pipelines today, ladies and gentlemen, that your pipeline is ideally, Dan, you back there? Yep. We want our buyers too. We need to get mortgages in place. We need to be feeding Dan mortgages, right? But let's start with the listing. Let's start with the listing, and then let's get that seller a mortgage for the house they need to buy. Right? Let's get the buyer a mortgage for the house they're going to buy from your seller. That's all I would do. And so I strongly encourage all of you to orient yourselves, orient your nose towards, I am a listing agent. I help home sellers do 4 things. Tell me what they are. Get the most money possible. Write this down if this doesn't come right off your tongue. What do we help them do? We help them get the most money possible, shortest amount of time, buyer that'll close, least amount of stress and headaches. You have already set yourself up so far beyond every other agent that's going to walk in the door when you can make that statement. Now, shortest amount of time, look, it may also be just the timeline they want. Not everybody wants the shortest window. Some people want an extended closing, but you get the point. It's really more what I'm saying is the shortest amount of time on the market. Does anybody here know a home seller that would love to just have their house on the market for a year? No, when you list your home, what do you want? Sell it. When?
As soon as
Well, immediately. I don't know anybody that's like, you know, it's fine if it sells next month or the month after that. Guess what? You do not have a committed seller if that's what they're saying to you.
And the longer they stay on, the less they're getting.
And that is so statistically true. I just read a statistic. By the way, you guys should all subscribe to something called Keeping Current Matters. If you don't, I really encourage you to do that. That is an industry statistical reservoir where they're offering really important statistics that we can use and tell sellers. We can tell our sellers. And one of the things I just heard in their update was 80% of home sellers believe that they're going to get or exceed their listing price. 80%. How many do? 40. Has anyone here listed a house in the last 12 months and gotten the list price? How many? 1. Exactly right. Out of how many listings? What's that?
I've had 2. My
2.
first 2 listings this year.
Great. So that means one of 2 things. That means one thing. You did your job right. You did your job right. Okay? Otherwise, every other listing in this room that was sold below the list price. Every other one. I mean, we've done thousands and thousands and thousands of transactions. I would be willing to bet that only a small percentage of them sold at their list price. We'd take 2022 out of the mix because that was a crazy market. But if we're talking about a normal market, so we need to be able to state that. What we also need to be able to do is state that not only do only 40% of home sellers actually sell at their list price or below, list price or above, 60% sell below list, significantly below list. Because what happens is the longer on the market, the less likely they are to get at or near their listing price. Which is why it's always going to be better to list within range of where they actually want to sell it.
Where they want to sell or where it will actually sell?
Where it will sell. Not where they want to sell it, sorry, where it will actually sell. Where it will actually sell. Okay, before I have Ron come up and we role play this, I want to remind you that being prepared is the most important part of succeeding at the listing appointment. Being prepared. So how do we prepare? Now I'm going to leave these here because these were some of the objections you guys had for why you lost listings. So how do we prepare?
So
show your value.
You need to have a menu of services on why you're going to charge the full.
All right, so raise your hand so I'm not listening to everybody. Go ahead.
First, the comps.
Okay, so we got to do the comparables. Okay, and if you're unsure of the comps, right, is it always easy to comp listings? Not always. There's a lot of variety. Some houses and communities are super simple, right? We got, basic houses and a planned unit development. Everything is aligned, square footage, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's easy to do. But then there's houses that it's not easy, or there's variations. And so we're not teaching how to comp houses here today. Ronnie does an exceptionally good job of that in his training sessions. And if you have not had a lot of experience doing that, then I encourage you to do that. You got to know your comps. And you got to know your comps. The way I always did comparables is that I would always bake it down to what is the equalizer across everything comparably is price per square foot. Because houses will vary based on condition, based on location, based on amenities, based on the lake, based on the pool, based on the kitchen, this number of bedrooms, this number of bathrooms. So I always start with price per square foot as long as the properties are comparable, right? The neighborhood's comparable. You get your average price per square foot. We do the statistical market analysis inside the MLS. We start with the average. And then I always ask the question, is their house at, above, or below average? Simple question, right? That then gives me a guide to say, all right, what kind of pricing ideas do they have? Are we in the same conversation? The next thing you would do from a comparable standpoint is you would print out the grid of the comparables, and then you would get a clear picture on what's active that they'll compete with. Right? The actives matter because that's what they compete with. Buyers have choices, especially in this market. So you got to position your property in a way where it's going to compete. Here's the 4 things that are really important. Number 1 is you've got to position the property properly. Position it. Not just price it. Position it relative to its competitors. Number 2 is price it. And I'm talking price it precisely. Price it precisely. This is not a market to be aspirational pricing, right? This is a precise pricing market. Number 3 is you got to be persistent. Number 4 is you got to be patient. That's how it's going to work in this market. Positioning, pricing, perseverance, and patience. That's how you succeed as a listing agent. Okay? What else do you do to prepare?
Bring with you a seller guide with list of your services and the process.
Okay, so we have here a seller guide. Okay, so this would be services and process.
Marketing.
Okay, that's cool, right? I would say you're right. You got to have a marketing plan. Now, here's the good news. All this stuff is available to you already. It's all already available. You don't have to go recreate the wheel. We've already done all this through the tools that Alex and Laura have created. It's all available to you guys. Okay, what else do we do to prepare?
Net closing.
I print out my testimonials. I put them all on.
Okay, so I like that. Printed testimonials inside the, we got these, when the spin of the wheel comes up and you get 10 folders, you should be thinking, yes, that's the thing I really want. You know why? Because you're a listing agent. And listing agents need to be prepared, and you don't need to go make your own freaking folders. We did it already. Right? If I'm you, I'm thinking every Monday I want more folders because I just used all my folders last week because all I did was do what? Go on listing appointments because that's all I do. I'm a listing agent. As a listing agent, all I do is go on listing appointments. You should wake up every single morning and state this affirmation to yourself. I'm a listing agent. Say it out loud.
I'm a listing agent.
All I do is go on listing appointments. That's it. You need the at-bats. It's okay even if you're not getting them all. The fact that you're going on them means that you're going to have more at-bats, which means you're going to list more houses. Your life will be immensely better. Anyone want to disagree with me? Tell me how great your buyers are. Tell me how much you love them. Okay. Okay. So you're going to have your comps, seller guide, marketing plan, testimonials. I like that. Print them. Okay? All of you should be taking every testimonial you ever got in your life and building it into a Google Doc. I don't care if that thing is a freaking novel by the time you drop it off at your seller's house. Hey, I just wanted to make sure you knew this is what it's like to work with me. You don't have to take my word for it. There's nothing more powerful than social proof. It's why we look at reviews on Amazon before we buy. At least I do. It's why I go to Google before I go to a restaurant in a town I've never been to say, hey, what's the stars rating on this one? What are the best meals on this one? I want to try that too. Nothing more powerful than social proof. All right, what else?
Seller's net sheet.
Okay, net sheet. Love it. A net sheet. This is money in the bank right here because you can show a seller how much they're going to get. Now, by the way, you can also take your device in, right? We've got laptops, we've got tablets. You could take your device in and have it be dynamic right there. Pop it open, net sheet on the ready. Let's throw in some numbers here. Let's play with some things. That way you can show a seller, hey, look, I'm not rigidly attached to it being this one way. What I am here to do is solve your problem. I would have the property appraiser page and the sketch of the house printed out. Right? Property appraiser page, that's so you can verify the information and say, hey, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same house here. Okay. I'm not as familiar with RPR or whatever because I have found those tools. You guys do it your way. I've been on a listing appointment in a minute or two, but I don't want to be influenced by any external pricing guide. I think I'm the most eligible, capable person, professional person, expert person to tell them what I think the property is worth.
I like to use it just for the range, because on the, it gives the range.
Okay, that's fine. I've never done that. It's not what I've done because I don't want to actually plant any seeds in anybody's mind other than the one I want them to hear, which is this is what I think your property is worth. Based on all the comparable data, based on the statistical market analysis, based on your living area square footage, the average price per square foot for all the homes in your neighborhood is this, and your property is at, above, or below. And when I go to my comps grid, I'm going to look at all of the comparables. I'm going to show them, hey, your property closely matches to this one at this price, but this one had this and this and this, yours doesn't. This one is pending, it's got this and this. This one closed, this one's the closest to yours. By the way, we can go look at these active listings if you want to. Let's go schedule appointments. That way we can look at them and we can compare what your house is going to compete against so we know exactly what buyers are looking at. Okay.
Adam, what's a property appraiser page?
Papa.
Palm Beach County Property Appraiser, Broward County Property Appraiser. You just take that information sheet. It gives the property control number, it gives who owns the property, it gives the square footage, it gives the year they bought it, it gives the effective age. You're using that as a way to confirm that this is the property, right? Okay. And then I always bring the sketch. Because, I mean, how many of us have gone to a house and it's like, wait a minute, where did this extra, bedroom come from? Where's this extra, wing on here? I didn't see this on the property appraiser sketch. How are we going to deal with that? Property appraiser says your house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but you've got a 4-3. How did that happen? How are we going to market this one? I'm not really sure. You follow? And so you have to be able to have that conversation, and as opposed to like disputing it, you just say, well, but this is what public record shows. Okay? So that's what I would do among other things, right? And I love this seller guide, and specifically what I love is your services, your process, right? Your services, your process, a menu of services, and I would even have it priced out. This is what I'm a 3% listing agent. These are all the services I provide. People don't really know. They think they know. What do they think we do? We take pictures, we open doors, we cash paychecks. That's what they think we do. Of course, there's few more steps involved. Okay? So you must be prepared. There's some questions that I think are really important. And we're going to role play some of these for a minute. But here's some questions that I'm wondering if you guys are asking. If you're not, I think you should. First question, or one of the many questions, is have you ever listed a house before? Have you ever listed a home before? I'm not sure if you guys are asking that question or not. Why would I want to know the answer to that question?
Their experience.
Because I want to know their frame of reference, right? which allows us to talk about what they expect, which then allows me to manage those expectations. So if you ever listed a home before with a real estate agent, cool, yes, no, okay. Well, if it's yes, how did it go? Was it good? Not good? What was good? What wasn't good? Right now, they're like giving you everything you need to overcome any possible objection that they could have, because they're telling you already what it was like for them to do it before. Now, if they've never listed a home before, great, even better in my opinion, because now you're going to educate them on what it is to go through this process. Another question is, what's important to you about the listing agent you're going to hire? What's important to you about the listing agent you're going to hire? If it's only me, if you're only interviewing me, then tell me what's important to you. Right? Now, you've already established that you know, I'm assuming that we're just talking at the listing appointment. You've already talked to them on the phone, right? You've already qualified this to some degree. You know their motivation. We went through that last week, right? Your 5 steps of a conversation are relationship and connection. Super important that you relate and connect. People will only do business with you if they trust you. Period. Okay? You qualify them. What's the motivation? How important is the motivation scale? By when do they no longer want to own the house? It's not how are you going to pay, that's a buyer. It's what is your expected listing price? Like what's in your mind? Some people will play the game with you. They'll be, you'll say, well, what do you expect to list the house for? What are you thinking? And they'll say, well, why don't you tell me? They'll do that stupid shit. Oh, well, you're the expert. I'm here for you to tell me. It's like, all right, but you must have a number in your mind. I mean, it's not a game, right? I mean, we're not doing that, are we? Okay. But some people will want to do that. All right, so, okay. Fine, if that's what we're going to do. Are you working with any other agents? Same qualifying questions. It is literally the same. It's the same. We have to qualify in advance, so when we get to the appointment, we're just confirming what we know. We're confirming what we know. Okay? We're strengthening the position based on what we've already talked about. So you're talking to any other agents? Cool. It's fine if they are, right? Like, that shouldn't be a scary thing. People are allowed to evaluate other options. You are going to compete. Okay? So if they're interviewing other agents, great. Tell me what's important to you about the agent you're going to hire. It's a really important question, because now you can speak directly to the heart of it so that we're not wasting time. And here's what you don't want to do. You do not want to make it about who? Yeah. Let me tell you about how great I am. Let me roll up in my flashy car and walk swaggering in and, hey, I'm here. Gonna save the day. Super agent. No, it's about them. Who's the hero in your story? They are. They are the hero in the story, not you. Okay? So those would be some important questions to ask that you may not already be asking outside of the normal questions. Okay? All right. Ronnie, when you're ready, what is most important for you guys to hear in this conversation today? Say it again. Objections. Okay, so we've got 5 objections here already that I wrote. Okay, tell me if there's any more. Okay, so we want to handle objections. So commission is going to be an objection. We can deal with that one. I'm not really committed to selling. The price is too low. A family member sells real estate, so I'm going to have them list. I'm not the most well-known. I'm going to work with the more well-known agent. You want to slide it over or no?
There we go.
We should be in the middle for the camera, right? Okay. Jean, is this thing blocking here, or do you want me to move that?
No, you're good. You're good.
You sure you don't want me to move it?
Ron is good where he is, yeah.
He's good there?
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool.
Ooh, the seat's hot.
Another agent told them what they wanted to hear, and the seller has to bring money out of their pocket. So these are all objections to listing. What are any other objections? Term. I don't want to list for 6 months. Term is an objection. What else? I mean, there's a few things that people commonly object to if they do on the listing agreement. Like, I don't agree to 50% of the retained deposit, right? I don't agree to 180-day termination, or what's it? No. The what's it called? The protection period. I don't agree to a $1,000 cancellation fee. Those kinds of things. Those are.
Transaction fee.
I don't want to pay a transaction fee, right? Those are things. We'll talk about those as we go. But I think these are probably the most common, yeah? All right, what else do we want to get from this? Just objections? Are we cool on everything else?
Listing period too.
That's the term, right? I wrote that, term, the listing period. Anything else does everyone else feel completely confident with how to get a listing?
When they asking how much you can sell it for.
Okay, right. So price, right? The price is too low. Yeah. Okay. All right. So Ron, I'm the seller. You're the agent. Why don't you walk people through what you do when you show up for a listing? Like, how does Ron Posner go and list a house?
Hey, Ron Posner.
Hey, so nice to meet you. Thanks for coming over.
Finally, great to meet you in person. I know we've been talking on the phone for a few months, and glad we're finally here.
Me too.
So I'd love to just get a tour of your house.
Okay.
Really what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at your home, give you maybe some suggestions. I'm not going to ask you to do anything that you don't want to do, but we want to prepare the house in the best light possible.
Okay.
In order to get you as much money as possible.
Okay.
So how about you give me a tour?
Sure.
We'll talk about the little things. I'm going to ask your permission to open up cabinets, look inside your appliances.
Okay. I mean, I didn't clean up the house really well. Is that all right? I mean,
I've been in worse.
Okay.
So it's all good.
Okay.
Again, I'm only here to support you and help you in any way possible.
Okay.
And again, I may come up with a list of things that I want to suggest that you may address before we actually go to market.
Okay.
And again, the purpose of that is to get your house sold in the time frame that you want, and obviously for as much money as possible.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Sure.
Great. I'll walk around the house. All of you have been through my training where I walk around the house, I follow the right side of the walls. Exterior. I look at ceilings, I look under sinks, I look in cabinets, I open up closet doors. I'm looking for stains, I'm looking for blemishes. I'm actually going to the electrical panel, investigating whether it's a panel that may be deemed to be a fire hazard. I'm actually touching the electrical panel. Now, I always tell you guys, use your senses. Everyone except taste. I don't want you licking walls. Look pretty weird, right? But use your senses, use your smell, use your sight, use your touch, all those that you can to obviously get a good feel. Now, obviously, when I'm walking around, so Adam, as we're walking around, let's just talk a little bit about why did you buy this house to begin with? Like, what drove you to actually purchase this house?
Yeah, well, at the time my kids were young and we had relocated and we needed a great house in a great school district.
Okay, good. And you've been here for 20 years, as I see.
It's been great, yeah.
So
we've had a great experience.
It's been great.
Yeah.
Have there been any negative aspects of the house that maybe you can communicate? And the reason I ask that is because when I'm actually showing your home, because I'm going to be here for all the showings, I may have some objections, but if I already know them up front, I can think about how I'm going to overcome them. Anything that you think may come up that people would see when they're viewing your home?
The things that make this house not the Taj Mahal,
Yeah.
that make it not the most perfect house on the planet.
Sure.
Because every house has deficiencies in some way. Yeah, I would love it if the power lines weren't in the back. We do have power lines running in the back, and I know I can't do anything about that. I wish the driveway were a little wider. I know we can't do anything about that. When we moved in, the bathrooms needed to be renovated. You'll see as we walk through, we renovated the bathrooms. Overall, it's been a great house, though.
Okay. So power lines, again, those, we can't move the house. Obviously, the location is what it is. Driveway could be solved, though, because most of the times driveways could be expanded. So that's a good point, that if anybody brings that up to me during a showing, I can actually overcome that objection as well. But overall, I think then let's just walk through the house. And then
Cool.
what I'd love is an opportunity to sit around the table. Are you the only person that's making the decision?
No, my wife's going to make the decision,
She
all of it.
shares today as well? I haven't seen her yet.
She is, because you made sure that she was going to be here
Okay.
before you came over.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just want to make sure she is here.
Yeah.
Maybe she's working or doing something with the kids.
She's busy for now, but when we're going to start talking about the price and your fee, that's when she'll come
Perfect. Perfect.
beat you over the head a little bit.
By the way, I have a wife too.
Yeah.
So I get that.
You asked me if there's anything wrong with the house over the last 20 years.
Ooh, you went there, didn't you?
Hey, look, it's just mano a mano
All
here.
right, good. I guess we'll have to stick together. It's what we do. But again, I'm married as well, so I understand.
All
the
good,
dynamic.
just kidding. I love my wife to death.
Great. Great. All right, so did my tour, actually sitting down at the table.
I do think it's important, though, to kind of like note what you do. So when Ron and I would go on listing appointments, we would go together, at least in the beginning, because we both have strengths, right? Ronnie's really, really good with the physical real estate, more so than I am. Understands the architecture, understands when he sees a problem. What does the stain mean? Now, obviously, I was also the student listening, paying attention, but Ron at times would write a very detailed list of what he sees, and then would present that to the seller, or would say to the seller at some point, hey, by the way, I'm just making notes on what I see, because when we go to market, has anybody been in a new construction model home? I mean, how does it look? It's perfect, right? How many resale homes look that way when they go on the market? Right?
1%.
But they still want to get the most money they can. And so there's the gap. And so what we want to do is we want to obviously position a home seller's home like it's a brand new model. You're going to get more money if the home shows in that kind of condition. And so Ron is going to, relay that, say, hey, I'm going through this here to make the reasonable suggestions on how we can get your home in the best showing condition. And then secondarily is if he sees a deficiency, and what percentage of homes have some kind of deficiency in them?
98.
All of them. Every single one of them. The fucking windows don't close right. The slider's not right. We had the kids overflowed the toilet one night, and we got some water stain. Those are deficiencies, and if we can anticipate them ahead of time or see them ahead of time and fix them before we go to market, it's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, great. Well, thank you again, Michelle and Adam, for having me here at your home. And obviously, we have spoken before. And to recap our conversation, the reason, just share with me again the reason that you guys are.
Yeah, too much house. Our kids are now moved on and are ready to, they're living their own lives, and we don't need this big house anymore.
Great. And what's your plan for once you do sell those?
We're going to move east. Got to get closer to the water. We want to live more of that, happy lifestyle over east.
Great. I understand that. I've been living there 30 years, so I can appreciate
Interesting.
that.
Whereabouts?
I'm in Highland Beach.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd love to share my life with you as well and
Great.
expose that to you guys
Great.
when we get there.
Great.
Great. So I have my sheet here. This is basically, I just want to confirm, the house is in Adam and Michelle's name.
Right.
You
So
guys-
this is where, right, he's confirming, no. Right, so now Ronnie's going through the reason why you have the property appraiser and the sketch. He's confirming now with me before we get into the conversation. Who owns the house? How many times have we listed a house or we've gone to the house and it's like, okay, who's the seller of record on title? Is that person actually here? It's owned in a trust, it's owned into this, it's owned into that. You're not even sure if you're talking to the right person, okay? So that's why you have property appraisers, the listing page, and you have the sketch, okay?
Yeah, print the summary page out.
Right.
So when you're doing that, you have everything on that summary page. So as I see, again, the house is in both you and Michelle's name.
Right.
And I see that you bought this house in 2006.
Yep.
You paid $250,000. By the way, do you still have a mortgage on the property?
We don't.
So it's free and clear?
It is.
Great. So when we're going through our numbers, we can actually go ahead and see what net number you're going to have.
Yeah, what's most important to me is to know how much we're gonna net. I assume I'm gonna pay you something. I assume there's gonna be costs and fees, but I wanna really know how much am I gonna net.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll go over that as well when the time comes. So it does show that the house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, which is what we see here.
Right.
And I see that when you first bought the house, there was no pool. You guys added a pool.
We did.
Okay, and you pulled permits for that pool?
We did.
By the way, in the line of permits, you did say that you renovated bathrooms and kitchen at one point.
Yeah.
Did you pull permits for that as well?
We did for the kitchen, not for the bathrooms.
Not for the bathrooms?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go over that as well when we go ahead and.
Okay. Do you think that's a problem?
Nothing's a problem until it's a problem,
Okay.
so. But we'll hedge for that, and we'll actually talk about what our plan is if that does come up.
Okay.
Okay.
Has anybody had that? I pulled permits for this, but not for that, or I didn't pull permits, or right? It happens all the time. Okay.
So again,
A pool, by the way, sorry, a pool is definitely something you got to pull a permit for because a pool contractor is not going to do a pool without a permit. But a bathroom is something that you could do yourself, right? Or you could have your friend do, and because it's on the inside, nobody sees it. Kitchen you could do yourself. Floors you could do yourself. I'm not saying you would, but you could hire contractors who will do it without permits all day long. Okay, so that's why.
but let's touch on that a second as well. When you list a property, we require you to have a seller fill out and sign a seller's disclosure. And one of the questions in that seller's disclosure is, do you have any knowledge of any work being done in the property that required permits that didn't have a permit?
Yep.
So the reason I'm going over that, 1 second, is that I want to protect you in every way possible, Adam and
Okay.
Michelle, to make sure that if there is something that you need to disclose, I'm going to suggest that you disclose, because at the end of the day, I do go home every night, I put my head on the pillow, I fall asleep within seconds, I'm probably snoring within 5 seconds. Okay? The reason that is because I always have my integrity intact.
But do I have to, I mean, I get it that that's good for you, but what about me? Like, what if I don't want to do it? I get it, you want me to do it, but what if I don't want to?
This is the form that you're signing. I'm not signing this form, and you're the one that's disclosing.
What if I don't want to?
Your choice.
Okay, so I do want to reinforce one point. The state of Florida does actually require home sellers, and this is how I would respond to that. The state of Florida does require a home seller to disclose what they know. If they don't disclose it, they are actually breaking the law. And so I would probably respond and say, look, you are entitled to do whatever you want. I am, however, responsible to share with you that the state of Florida does require you to disclose what you know, and if you don't, that could be grounds for a buyer to come back to you and sue you. And so you are certainly, I'm not going to hold a gun to your head and make you do anything. Just know the risks if you don't. Right? And now here's the thing. Because the state of Florida requires you as a home seller to disclose what you know, specifically that could have a material impact on the value of the home, we have a form that helps you disclose all of that. And all you have to do is answer yes, no, or I don't know. And you answer the form however you want to. Okay, but I'm going to ask you to do that to help you comply with your legal obligation, and then we are going to provide that. We're going to share that with home buyers, because just like I'm sure you want to know what you're buying. You would be really happy if, let me just put the shoe on the other foot, if you were buying a home, and perhaps you're going to buy a home, and in this case maybe I can sell you a home out east by where I live, you're going to want the same thing, aren't you? See, I think it's really important when we have a home seller or a home buyer who get into a negotiating position where they take a stance and it's like, but I'm not doing that. And you can say to them, but put the shoe on the other foot. You might be in the position of that buyer or the position of that seller. What would you want? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. And then Paula.
As the agent, we know they didn't pull permits, and what if that seller decides he doesn't want to hit that on there? He wants to do a don't not care, and then the buyer comes in and goes, well, permits pulled for everything?
So it's a great question. The state of Florida recognizes us as transaction brokers. As transaction brokers, we owe our consumers limited confidentiality. If we were a single agent, that would be full confidentiality, and we would then be taking a fiduciary, kind of like attorney-client privilege, where you can tell me whatever and I can't tell anyone. Not true as a transaction broker. And so technically speaking, both legally, how the state would answer that, and as how your broker will answer it. If someone tells you, you now know it. You now know. And if you don't disclose, you are complicit with hiding something that could come back. And so if you know that they didn't pull permits, and a buyer's agent comes along and says, hey, did they pull permits for this? And you say, I don't know. I guess you could do that. It would probably come back and bite you in the ass in the event something down the road happens. I mean, I always want to plan for what's the worst case scenario that could happen here. Not like, hey, nobody's going to find out. We're good. Well, what if they do? What if there's a problem? And then they go and realize the work was done, it was shoddy work, they should have pulled a permit. Now there's a fucking fire in the house and a kid dies. And you knew about it. That doesn't sound like a good plan. So if you hear it, you know it, you must disclose it. And you should tell your seller. In fact, you might even want to say to them something like, hey, look, I even do before I present a seller's disclosure, right? And as I'm sitting down at the table and I say, hey, before you tell me anything about this house, know that you are legally obligated to disclose what you know about this house. Everything. You can decide what you want to disclose. There's a form that allows you to do that. My advice would be to do this in legal compliance with what the state of Florida requires, which is disclosing everything you know that could affect the material value of this home. It's the same thing you would want on the buyer's side. But if there's something you don't want me to know, don't tell me. Because I don't want to know. Because as soon as I know, I'm obligated to share. Okay? There was another question?
Paula.
Just kind of pertaining to what she said, so I've had sellers say that, they're builder, owner doing the work, like they've been in construction.
Cool, did you pull permits?
Yeah, he said no.
Oh, all right.
Basically the same thing.
Doesn't matter that they're a builder. The state of Florida and the municipalities that govern property set building codes. Those building codes have requirements. Whether you follow them or not is irrelevant to the fact that they still exist. Just because you're a builder doesn't mean you're not still obligated to follow building code.
And have it inspected.
How do you know they're a good contractor? Just because they're a contractor doesn't, anybody know any contractors that aren't good at it?
So not having a permit, like many people don't get permits for a floor or a bathroom, or could that stop the sale of a house?
Well, to be clear, not everything requires a permit. Okay, so no.
Okay.
If you disclose as a seller, then the buyer is fully aware, and it's their choice whether they want to move forward with the sale.
Correct.
And the conscience is clear.
Yeah, it won't stop the sale unless you're not disclosing it and then it surfaces later and now the buyer isn't getting what they thought they were getting. Okay. But if the seller does what they're supposed to do, discloses, did the bathrooms, no permits. Buyer says, no problem, I'm okay with it. Because what happens on the seller's disclosure? Don't both parties sign it?
They did.
See, that's an acknowledgement of, hey, I'm disclosing, I did the floors without a permit. Floors don't require permitting, but...
That's not true.
It well, it depends on the kind of floor.
The town of Highland Beach requires everything you breathe and bleed, you need a permit.
So it depends on the municipality, but the point is that, hold on, the point is that if the seller discloses it and the buyer acknowledges the disclosure in writing, you've done your job. Okay?
It just, the power, one second, Andres, the power of a seller's disclosure. Lori, can I share?
Yeah.
Okay. Lori called me last week and sellers just closed. Sellers moved in, the neighbor walks across and says, oh my God, did you guys just closed on the house? Do you know about the flood? Do you know about the flood? This is the neighbor, nosy neighbor. Do you know about the flood? They called Lori, panicked. Oh my God, there was a flood in the house, blah, blah, blah. I said, where's the seller's disclosure? First thing I said. I said, let's go back. I opened the app file, seller's disclosure's in there. They disclosed there was a pipe that broke. They disclosed the flood. Buyer signed off on that. They bought the property as is with the right to inspect. We're covered. We did our job.
Plus there was an inspection, right?
Doesn't matter inspection. We're talking seller's disclosure now. Okay? Nosy neighbor comes over. Welcome to the neighborhood. Do you know there was a flood?
What did the buyer say?
The buyers were upset, they called me, and the neighbor came over, and I said, hold on, let's take a look at the seller's disclosure. They did, they made it simple. flood remediated and repaired. That's all they put, and they signed.
And then what happened?
It was over.
Yeah,
We're okay.
right.
We were fine.
Yeah. I do think it's important, right, as a listing agent, that we have clarity around and if people, the best way to do a seller's disclosure is with them, sitting with them, right? Asking the questions. If they say, oh yeah, we had a flood, you can probe a bit, right? You can help them, write what they need to be writing so that it's clear and express so that they don't run into a problem. Because here's what could happen. If they didn't disclose it, the neighbor comes over, the buyer's like, you never disclosed it. Guess what?
Lawsuit.
We got a problem. We get sued, you get sued, the seller gets sued. We don't want that.
No bueno.
Yep.
So
we
what
get-
if the buyer and the seller agree, it's under the disclosure, but if there's work done that was not permitted, can find any financing, with
The seller's disclosure does not go to the lender.
but, or I guess work done without a permit.
Seller's disclosure does not go to a lender, and there's no reason for a lender to know that.
The only time that comes up, to answer your question, Malika, is somebody does an addition, or the typical. They convert the garage.
Right.
This is a typical situation. They make a bedroom out of it. They didn't pull permits to do that. Appraiser now, because we're talking lending, appraiser now comes in on the tax rolls. It still shows as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It didn't get converted to a true bedroom with permits. They didn't pull permits to convert that garage properly. Now the appraiser may make an issue, and it may be an issue for lending.
Yeah, that's my question, because one property that I'm talking with, they converted the garage and also converted the back, like screened-in patio, into an enclosure, so.
And and for the lender's protection, they rely upon appraisers. That's the lender's protection. Our conversation right now is between buyer and seller, but for the lender, the appraiser will come out and they will look at property appraiser, the sketch, right? It's why it's so important that we bring this with us to our listing conversation, because we want to confirm, hey, property appraiser says 3.2, but you got a 4th in the garage and you got this room over here. What's going on here? And you could then, at that point in time, because as an advisor, right, many of us, I think, mistake that, hey, I'm here to get a signed listing agreement. What you're there to do is give people advice on how to maximize the selling process to get the most money, shortest time, buyer that'll close, and the least amount of stress and headaches of it possible. You know how we do that? Is we talk about it up front. We make a plan on how we're going to deal with these things. Just because they enclose the garage without permits or enclose the patio into a enclosed floor room but didn't do it with permits doesn't mean we can't sell the house. It just means we have to have a plan for how we're going to deal with these issues, because they're going to come up. That's what being a great real estate agent is.
So does it make a difference to the appraiser? I know we're not talking about that, but does it make a difference to them if it is permitted?
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Of course it does.
Helps value.
Of course it does, because now there's validation that this is a legitimate structure. If it's not permitted, what could be possible?
Faulty work.
Faulty work. If it's faulty work, how do we know it's not going to cave in on someone's head? You follow me? If it's permitted, that means it was inspected by a third party who's a building official.
The biggest thing regarding that is insurance. So God forbid there's a fire in that property and they deem that the fire was caused by this illegal conversion and there's an electrical fire. What's the goal of an insurance company?
To not pay.
To not pay. So they're going to look for every reason not to pay that claim. So I always say this to everybody that, hey, should I pull permits? Absolutely pull a permit, because God forbid you have a flood, a pipe burst, something happens. Adjuster comes in, says, wow, looks at the PVC pipe that they put in. The house was built in 1980. The PVC pipe has a date of 2023. What does that tell you? That there's new pipes in this property. And was there a permit? It goes that far. Now, I don't want to get too much in the weeds of inspections and disclosure, because we're talking about how you're going to convert
listings.
your sellers.
Yeah.
Okay. One more question, then we'll move on.
How expensive are the permits? Why so many people are doing the work without the permits?
Just
What's
time.
the-
It's not the money,
Time.
it's the time.
Red tape.
It's the hassle, it's the ability
Go
to have
there.
to just run through something.
It may cost more money.
But it's
It
not.
may cost more money, but the permits themselves are not the expensive part. It's being held to a standard that would require they do the work in the proper manner that could cost more, it could cost more and it could take more time.
Yeah.
That's why people don't do it. Okay.
So Adam, great, thanks
Yeah,
again.
okay.
So we've just reviewed your property. What I'd like to do now is actually go through a pricing conversation of really where we feel we're going to be comfortable with getting the property sold
Okay.
at. Understanding, as we spoke on the phone, my goal is 4 things. I want to get you as much money as possible in the time frame that you guys need. Finding a buyer that will close, and let me explain a little bit about what that means, is that once we get offers on your property, I'm actually going to vet that buyer. If they're paying cash, I'm wanting to ask for a bank statement, a letter, which I'm not just going to take it for what it is, I'm actually going to call the bank and make sure it's legitimate. If they're getting financing and they're going through a lender, I'm actually going to call the lender and vet that. Now, I can't promise you perfection. Things happen, people lose their jobs, etc., but my goal is to set us up for success. And finally, you see these shoulders? They're pretty big, right? I'm going to handle as much stress as possible. It is stressful selling a house. And I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to speak to you. I'm going to over-communicate. So every step of the way, you're going to know exactly what's going on, and I'm going to help you get through this.
Okay,
Make
cool.
sense?
Yeah.
Great.
All right, before you go there, so we did just jump ahead. I want to make sure to reinforce how you add value before you get to the most important part that everybody wants to know. What's it going to sell for, and how much are you going to charge me, and how long is it going to take? That's what they want to know. You want to add as much value to the conversation as you possibly can before you get to that, which means you do that at the very end. Which means that if you have a seller, when you get there, right, you do the tour, ask questions, build some relationship and rapport while you're walking around the house, okay? Making comments about, oh, how nice this is, this must be your daughter's room, and this, you know, this is your son's room, wonderful, blah, blah, blah. Such a beautiful pool, you've had great events out here, I'm at, you know, whatever. Is when you sit down at the table, now by the way, I highly encourage, Ronnie said the word, sit down at a table, right? Like kitchen table, dining room table. It's super awkward to be like in the living room, you know, like on the sofa. It's like, how do I sit here? You could do it, but it's better to be at a surface so you can show stuff and walk through stuff. I think you want to ask, confirm the property, but I think you want to ask those qualifying questions that I started to give you before you get to the pricing conversation. Now, you might have a seller that says to you, all right, cool, what are you going to sell it for? Right, you sit down, they're like, all right, how much? And you're like, good question, not sure yet. But I do have some questions I want to ask you to make sure that we come up with the right number for you. Okay, you don't want to get baited or trapped in giving a quick, oh, how much? Well, let me show you what our PR says. Don't do that. Okay, you want to really take your time through you want to requalify. So this is the house. I would encourage, all right, empty nest. We talked about that. Where are you going? The time frame. I would ask again before I got to that. Hey, and I just want to make sure, are you interviewing other agents? You know, before we get into the pricing, I know the most important part, and I would even say it, I know what you really want to know is how much you're going to sell it for, how much we're going to charge, how long is it going to take. I know that's what you want to do. Before we get to that, I just have some questions because I want to make sure that, you know, we're the right fit for each other. Now, I don't know how many conversations you had. Remember, it's typically going to take between the 5th and the 12th conversation to convert a customer. That's 90% of all consumers, so you probably had some conversations already. You can confirm what you know. And that's where you would ask those questions like, tell me what you're expecting from this process. Let them tell you what they want. Tell me what your concerns are about listing. Is there anything on your mind that's concerning you about? Well, how long is it going to take? I don't know where we're going to go. What if we get an offer? Like, people have more concerns about the process than sometimes they even do about the price or what they're going to pay you. And if you can allay their concerns and fears, and you can show them, hey, look, I'm going to get you to the vacation. It's not about the trip, and I'm going to get you here. They might say to you, well, whatever you think then. You think I should list it for that? Great. I'll pay you that? Great. Because if you're going to deliver me that kind of an experience that you just mapped out for me, well, then the pricing conversation's easy. So I really want to make sure that you spend enough time there. What's concerning you? What's most important to you? Are you interviewing any other agents? What's important to you about the agent you're going to hire? What was the experience you had before when you listed? Was it a positive one? Was it a negative one? I would ask the question Ronnie asked about the property. Tell me what you love most about this house. Like, what has been your favorite part of owning it? Because my job as your agent is to accentuate the positives. Every house has deficiencies. There is no perfect home. I'm sure this has been a perfect home for you. But buyers have choices, and they're not going to see the home the same way you do. Right? This is just another house on their property tour. Now, you have a lovely home, and I'm sure all of what you've done, buyers are going to see that value. My job is to accentuate that value. Tell me what has been your least favorite part of the home. Like, where do you think we're going to struggle to capture full value? That's why I answer, well, I know I got property, power lines in the back, or, this or that. Say, look, those are real things. My job is to, minimize that or work around that so that I can accentuate the positives and minimize the negatives. Okay, so make sure you go through that so that when you get to price, you've already been able to share with people how you've delivered this experience for others. Because what you want to use when they share with you what they want, what their concerns are, where it didn't work before, is you want to be able to say, I totally get how you feel. Practice with me the following: feel, felt, found. Y'all know how this works? Anybody said this to you before? I totally get how you feel. Others like you have felt the same way. What we found is. Okay, that right there is going to be able to shift language for you. It's just sales technique. But people feel heard. If they feel heard, they'll sign. If you come in there and you start telling them how great you are, they don't give a shit. Okay? Now, this would also be, and by the way, when we get to the end of our conversation, we talk about price and fee and time and all that stuff. I'm going to leave for you my materials. We're not going to go through it all here together because there's too much of it, especially all the testimonials. What I am going to show you is a few key things. Number one is I'm going to show you that I follow a proven process. I'm not going to wing it. A lot of agents really are winging it. I'm going to show you that I follow a process. Number two, I'm going to show you that I have a detailed marketing plan. We can go through that plan if you like. Furthermore, my organization, we have incredible marketing resources available. This would be where you would take out your listing hub flyer. Okay? I would have that in here. That's a part of your marketing plan. Let me make sure I put listing hub. Okay? This is a tool that no one else offers. I swear to you. It is true. Nobody has as detailed and as structured a methodology for maximizing exposure through marketing as we do. And so as opposed to what every agent is going to do, what are they going to do? Yeah, sure, I'm going to, put it on social media. Yeah, it's going to have great pictures on the listing. Or, yeah, I'll get pictures with my cell phone. You'll be good. And we have professional photographers to professional videography. Let me show you all of the marketing that's going to happen here. All of that is before what? You talk price. You do all of that before you talk price. Why? Because it gets easier. Right? Make it easier on yourself. You show somebody that you actually know what you're doing, you have a plan, and that you follow it, and that you can listen, and that you can understand, and that you can be present, and you know how they feel, and others felt the same way. But what you found is when they do what the fuck you tell them to do, you get the result. Okay, let's go to price.
Okay. So as we spoke before, you own the property free and clear.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is just, what do you feel is the value of your home?
Yeah, it's a good question. I was hoping you were going to tell me. I mean, you're the expert.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've done some research yourself.
Yeah.
Have you and Michelle thought about a number that you think is the right number?
Yeah, I mean, I know my neighbor's house sold for, $550.
Great, I saw that one, yeah.
Yeah, I know the other neighbor has their house on the market for like 6.25.
Okay.
I think we have a better house than the 550, but maybe not as good as the 6.25. So I'm thinking in there.
Okay. So you basically are basing your pricing strategy on what's happening in your neighborhood.
Isn't that what people do?
I'm just asking.
Yeah,
you
that's.
come up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually share with you some comparables.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to look at what's actually on the market, which is what we're going to compete with, and then we're going to really look at what's sold, and I'm going to show you that as well.
Okay.
I use my tablet for this, guys. I use my computer. So, and what I'll do is I'll actually move closer to Adam, because when I'm closer to them, I'm becoming closer. Okay, and I'm showing a partnership. I'll even touch their hand. And again, you have to read the room. You have to do this because I'm serious. You have to really have to read the room and know, because if you have somebody, I'll just use Malou as an example. We were at our training the other day, and I already know how Malou is. She likes her space. Don't invade on Malou's space, correct?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I already knew this because I get a good sense of people. And you have to know whether that's going to work or not. And you'll see that because you're testing as you're walking around the house, as I'm getting closer to the human, and whether they're moving away from me. Gotta look for these signs. It's really important that you get those signs. Most people like the touchy-feely, but there's a lot of people that don't as well. So you gotta really know who you're talking to. So I will move closer, and I will ask both parties to actually take one side of me and the other take the other side. So I'm in the middle, and now this is a we conversation. And I say that to them. By the way, I am not dictating anything in this process. I'm not dictating anything about pricing. I'm going to make suggestions, and this is a we conversation. I'm getting buy-in. Because if I tell Adam, this is where you need to list this at, what are you going to think? He's going to get defensive.
By the way, one of the things about proximity, there's something called neurolinguistic programming. And what we do is, like, if I really wanted to persuade any of you, I would do certain things that would include, like if I really wanted to get Ron to do something, I already know what to do, by the way. I go like this: Ron, I'm really counting on you. He's mine.
That's my downfall.
He's mine.
Don't tell me you need me.
He's mine, right? And the fact that I put my hand on his, it reinforces a bond, right? It's about building trust, because don't forget, we are reducing tension and increasing trust. And so Ron is just giving you, he knows he's doing that, right? It's just his natural way. It's building trust. It's building team. We're in this together. And then what happens is, when you get to the point where there's maybe some friction, objections, hey, we're in this together. And now those objections are easier to handle because we've already established team and partnership and trust.
So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go ahead and look at what is active in your community. And what I've done with my search and my analysis is that I've actually drawn a circle around your entire community. And what I'm trying to determine is that we want to see, one, what's active, what are we competing with? Buyers have choices. And especially in today's market, their buyers have more choices than they have in the past. So we want to see what we're competing with. That's the first. Second, we want to see what's actually under contract. We don't know what that's actually sold for yet, but we can do some research, maybe call some other agents and see what's going on. And lastly, the most important is what we're comparing to is what things have actually sold within the last 6 months. We don't go back a year, we go back 6 months.
Why is that? Why does that matter?
So generally, when somebody is buying with financing, if somebody is getting a loan, an appraiser rule is that they only can go back 6 months.
Do you think someone's going to buy my house with a mortgage, or do you think it's more likely cash?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I would be able to tell you what the lottery numbers are.
But we should prepare ourselves for both. is what you're
Absolutely.
saying. Okay,
You
so
always
that's
wanna-
why we would only go back 6 months?
100%.
Why? What my neighbor sold for a year ago, because it was the price that I would love to get, I probably can't get it anymore.
Market has shifted since a year ago.
I see.
Yes. So let's just talk about, again, what we think is the best situation.
What's happening with the market, Ron? I mean, what's, overall, before you tell me about my house, what's happening with the market?
Why do you ask?
Well, because I'm trying to sell my house.
Great. The market is actually, it's very strong. People are still moving to Florida.
Okay.
Okay, and there still are opportunities, but we're noticing that properties are taking a little bit longer to sell.
Okay, why is that?
People have choices. There's more inventory on the market, so what we're competing with.
So more supply?
More supply.
Okay.
Which is actually driving prices down a little bit.
Okay.
Mortgage rates are going up as well.
But you're saying the demand is still as strong, or the demand has changed, or?
Demand is still there. We're still seeing an appreciation in South Florida of 3 to 5%, which is normal. And but there are people that are holding back because of what's going on in our world right now. So if we are committed to
Holding
selling,
back as in buying?
as in buying, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. People
Just
are-
the uncertainty of the environment? I mean, I
Gas
just
prices.
filled my gas tank up. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, when you move east and you get a boat, gas is even more expensive.
Oh, okay.
just so you know.
All right.
$6.50 a gallon. Anyways, so yes, the market is, it's still a great time to sell, obviously, if that's what you're looking to do.
I am.
Yeah, so let's continue with our
Yeah.
conversation about where we feel the best pricing strategy would be.
Now, I might actually ask a question right here and say, look, I know you said that you are ready to downsize. How important is that to you? I mean, is this an absolute, you're doing this now? Or are there some possibilities where you might not do it and you might stay here in the house? I want to know that, because when we don't get their asking price right away and I need to go for a price reduction, or when I say that I think the property is only worth $550, but I told them I want more than that, like I want to be at $599 or $625 because someone else is on the market at that and they might be better, but I want to give myself room for negotiating, right? You'll want to say, well, okay, we could list here, but we're going to bake in price reductions. And I say, I don't really want price reductions. I would want to be able to say back to you and say, but I thought you said that you are absolutely moving now. See, that's what committed to the market is that you are absolutely moving, that there are no reasons why you would choose not to sell right now. And so I would ask that question.
So I would wait till the end to ask that question.
Well, whenever.
Once the objections
Whenever.
start coming, I would wait, because I
Yeah.
don't want to plant the seed of not moving forward. So there's a difference of timing.
Yeah.
So as I'm going through the conversation of pricing, we talk about price per square foot. I take out my statistical market analysis. Now, most of you have been through my training, my comp analysis. I handwrite on the bottom of that sheet. All of you know this. The low, the average, the high, I calculate it. What does it show by me handwriting all that? I did some work. I just didn't hit a couple buttons on a computer and spit out a piece of paper for me to go over. So I literally handwrite that out. Okay? And then obviously we take into account what's selling, what's active, and what we're competing with. So Adam had communicated earlier that his neighbor sold for $550. Let's look at that. I literally will have all of those properties selected on my MLS search. And that search is saved on my computer as Adam and Michelle, 123 Main Street, comparable search. It's already open in my tablet as well. So all I need to do is go straight to that search, it's there. My app file is also open, is ready, because when they're ready to sign, I take my stylus out and I hit sign all, initial all, and I leave with a signed listing agreement. So you have to be prepared for all of that stuff.
And if you don't bring it on your tablet, what else would you do to make sure you can get a signed listing agreement? Bring inside your package here, I forgot to write down, number 7, listing agreement.
Seller's disclosure.
Seller's disclosure.
Disclosure. All your disclosures are printed out. Everything needs to be in your package, so if they aren't ready to make a decision, that you've left behind all of that stuff for them to review as well.
All right, let's get to some objection handling. So let's talk about price, let's talk about commission.
Got it.
Okay,
So,
let's think about these objections here as they were identified. Okay, so let's talk about price. So you presented to me your pricing, you've kind of gone through how you do that.
yeah. So you've mentioned 550 for your property. I think that would be a fair place to start and to hopefully the goal is to get us traffic. If my rule of thumb is that in the first 2 to 3 weeks, if we don't have 8 to 10 showings and or an offer in that time, our message to the market is that we may be priced too high. I know our pictures and our presentation to the world is going to be professional. So that may be something to consider if we price it too high.
How did you come up with 550?
Well, when we look at the comparables of what's sold in the last 6 months, and we look at the differences in bedrooms, pools, location, et cetera, that's how we came up with that price range.
So I would also, as you were doing, go back to price per square foot. Say, listen, you know, the reality is that of all these comparables that are available, either active or closed, there's variety, there's variation. But we have an average price per square foot across all of them, which would show that there's enough similarity that we could use that as a baseline number. Your home is definitely above price per square foot, and you could see at the average price per square foot, you're priced at, you know, four. I mean, I'm just trying to do my math. You're like 5 and a quarter. The highest price per square foot. So in the statistical analysis, I take the very high, the very low, and the average. And I will calculate out, well, this is the highest price per square foot that's sold in the last 6 months. That's at 6 and a quarter, that one that you were talking about. But that property has impact, it has a pool, it has a new roof. Alone, that's gonna add 100 grand in value to a home of this size. But your house is certainly above average, which is why I don't think you should list it 5 and a quarter. So not only would I look at the comparables and kind of like apple to orange it or apple to apple it, I would also use that price per square foot as a way to kind of guide that conversation. You guys picking this up? Does it make sense? Okay. Does anybody have a problem with comping houses? Coming up with a good list price? Okay. Then what I would do is I would keep coming for training, right? Just keep coming for that because that's how you're gonna benefit. Do you have a mentor?
Yes.
Okay. Mentors are going to help you also with that. That's why most of you who have not listed many homes have a mentor, because they have. Okay, so let's move on from but Ron, I think the property's worth more money. I don't agree. I don't think 550 is the right number.
Great. So again, just to remind you, my goal is to get you as much money as possible in the time frame.
I wanted to list at 6 and a quarter.
Yeah. So let's just again go back to the comparables.
I know what they say.
Okay. How do you feel and how do you come up with that price point?
It's just what I think my house is worth.
Okay. Well, so you asked me to come help you sell your home. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So listing it is one thing, but getting it sold is another.
All right.
Okay.
Well, don't we have to leave room though for negotiation? I mean, even if I agree with you that it's not worth 6 and a quarter, shouldn't we list higher so that way we can leave room for negotiating?
There's a possibility that may come into play as well. I'm willing to push it a little bit, but let me just say, I've never listed a property to where we've overpriced it, and the longer it stays on the market, we've sold a property for more than it's actually worth over time. So if your goal is to sell and come east, get to the beach with me, get on the boat, and you don't want to be chasing a market, my suggestion is that you price it properly accordingly to what is actually sold in your community.
All right.
And then we can get it sold in the time frame that
Can we switch? Can we do that conversation?
Go ahead.
Okay, good. So I totally understand how you feel. So many home sellers, when they put their house on the market, they want to get as much money possible. I completely understand. You know, what we found is that the longer the property stays on the market, though, the less likely you are to get that price. So let me just ask you, how long do you want to be on the market?
I want it sold quickly.
So that would mean then that if we price it outside of what the market will bear, you understand it's just going to delay things. It's just going to take longer.
Yeah.
And when it takes longer, what happens is that buyers start to think, well, what's wrong with the property? Like, why hasn't it sold? You would probably think the same thing, right? If we go out shopping, you see a house on the market for 90 days, it hasn't had any price reductions, or even if it has, what's the first thing that comes into your mind?
What's wrong with it?
See where I'm going here?
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen to your
Why don't we
house.
just meet halfway?
What does halfway sound like to you?
You said 550, I said 6 1/4. Why don't we go 575?
I'll tell you what, I'll agree to 575 as a starting point, but I really think the property is going to be worth 550. Now, I think that's fair. Here's what I like to do anytime that I would price a home or anytime I would set a buyer search is I would set it in a $25,000 increment above either their budget as a buyer or the strike price that I think it'll sell at. Now, by the way, this isn't a gut instinct. I would even go as far to say, well, Ron, I really appreciate you want what you want, but the math just doesn't pencil out. And you tell me if I'm missing something. I mean, are you seeing something that I'm not?
No, I just want what I want.
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, we all do. I love to drive a Mercedes for the price of a Toyota, but I'm not doing that. So anyway, since we're looking at the same math, okay, if we price the property at 575, I think at least we're now within range. I think if we're kind of 25%, here's my general rule of thumb is to stay within 5% of where we think the property is going to sell for. At 550, we're roughly 25,000 is roughly 5%. So that'll work. However, like you said, I know you said this, so I'm going to not act like you said it to me. Here's my rule of thumb. 3 to 4 weeks or 8 to 10 showings. If we don't have a bona fide offer, it means we're priced too high. Right? Because what happens after a property sits on the market, we got to reduce it. And then what do buyers do? What would you do?
Offer less.
Make a lower offer. I do not want that to happen to you. We both want the same thing. By the way, I work on percentage, right? Which means the higher you sell this house, the more money I make. So trust me, I want you to get as much as possible because I'm working over here. By the way, did you know that I don't get paid anything until the end? And so I'm working completely for free until then. And so I want to make sure that we price this in a way where both you and I get what we want. That sounds fair, right?
I'm not really worried about you.
Well, and that's fine, except you're going to hire somebody. And that person is going to work hard for you and is going to be motivated and incentivized to get you your goal. So you kind of are, aren't you?
Yeah, I agree. I was joking about
Okay. Now see, I don't mess with that shit. If somebody's going to start talking to me and like disrespecting me because I don't tolerate that for a second. I would not in any way allow that kind of thing to happen because I don't think that shit's funny. This is my living. This is what I do for my family, just like what you do. And if somebody were to say that to me, I know you're just messing around, but if somebody said that to me, I would say, well, then we're probably not the right fit for each other.
That's what I'm exactly.
Because I'm here giving you my time. I don't get paid till the end. I don't know any other profession, by the way, where we do all the work and only get paid at the end, except for lawyers on contingency. And they take far more than 3%. You tell me one other career where people do that. And so when it comes to commission, I'm about to go for his jugular. So here's what I suggest we do. If we don't have an offer within 3 to 4 weeks or 8 to 10 showings, would you agree now to a price reduction? We could bake it into the listing. That way we don't have to talk about it then.
Let me think about that.
Okay, fair enough. What other concerns? I mean, I'm right now I'm at 575. I think we can agree on that.
Sure.
What are your other concerns here?
Commissions, what am I going to end up with?
Yeah, so I charge 3% for the list side. And we haven't talked about whether or not you want to offer buyer compensation. Do you understand how that works?
No.
Okay, so of course, likely another agent is going to bring the buyer to this property. Statistically speaking, like I may bring that buyer, but there's thousands of us out there who are likely working with a buyer right now that could be the right buyer for you. And so of course that person's going to want to get compensated also. And what is typical is that the seller compensates a buyer's agent for bringing that buyer. because buyers are ultimately going to bring all the money, and then you're going to carve a portion of that money off to the buyer's agent. That's what that means. Okay? It's all negotiable, and so we can take two approaches. Number one is we can agree right now how much we want to offer a buyer's agent, their compensation, so that we can publish it, buyer's agents know what they're getting, and then they'll be more inclined because they know what they're getting. Or number two is we can not publish it or not communicate it, and we can simply have a buyer's agent put it in their offer. And then as far as net goes, we're going to work on our net sheet here. I'm going to show you the different scenarios where at 575, 560, 550, see, I've already prepared for this. Right? I started at, because I had a feeling that he might think that he was going to get more than what the property is really worth. And so on my net sheet, I start at the upper end of the range on that on a dynamic spreadsheet so I can show him. And I would say, hey, look, this one, I am showing you from 600, but I'm only doing that to give you an idea because I don't really think you're going to sell. Or maybe I started at 575, which might have been the maximum starting point that I would have agreed to anyway. You guys following?
Let me add in. When you're explaining the buyer broker commission and the ability to attract other agents to bring their buyers, I use the lost dog story. Everybody know the lost dog story? If you remember back in the long time ago, maybe you're a little bit too young for this, but when you lost your dog, you would put a picture of Fido on a telephone pole and you would say lost dog. Now, if your neighbor goes ahead and loses Dobie, and they put Dobie's picture on a telephone pole, and they put reward on there of $1,000, whose dog are people going to look for? Dobie. So I bring that back to people in that scenario to let them understand the incentive to actually attract buyer brokers. So use that, it works. Because people relate to that stuff. So use that when it comes down to conversation. If you're getting objections from a seller saying, I don't want to offer anything out. So just go there with that to handle that objection. It works every time.
Yeah. By the way, we are at time. We're going to keep going. We probably got about another 15 or so minutes, so we understand you guys might have other stuff to do, so you just know that.
Can I just switch batteries really quickly?
Yeah, of course. And so that's where the rubber meets the road, is when you can do a seller net sheet and you can show them. Like, the reality is, if I can get you your price, does it matter how much you're paying? Right? Like, if I can get you your net, my commission is something that I'm going to earn, and people will pay it. By the way, we have a very high commission per side in this office. We're above a 2.5%. We're closer to 3. Some of you are really good at expressing your value and getting a full 3% every time. Others, not so much. So, Ron, let's negotiate.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
Just want to remind everybody, when they ask you what your commission is, do not say 6%, do not say 5%. Focus on the listing side commission.
Correct.
Just want to remind everybody.
Correct.
And then have the separate conversation about buyer broker.
Correct. It's an important thing to do, because when they hear 6, they're like, oh, that's too much. Say, my services, and that's what I'm here to interview for. What is a listing appointment? It's a job interview, right? You're going to show up early, you're going to show up well prepared, you're going to show up well dressed, you're going to be prepared to answer any objections. We know commission is one of the objections. So I charge 3%. We'll go through the seller net, and presuming we can get what you want, then does that work for you?
Sure.
Okay, great. Now, what if it didn't? Push back, tell me it doesn't.
The seller net doesn't work? Or
No,
the
that my
3%?
yeah.
Yeah, I think 3% is too high. I mean, they interviewed somebody else that are willing to do it for 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Why didn't you hire him?
I still haven't made a decision.
Oh, okay. What would prompt? Okay. Have you seen anything different in our conversation compared to someone who's going to charge you significantly less?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, it would be reasonable to want to save money. I totally appreciate that. Of course, you get what you pay for. And so, someone who's willing to work for 33% or a third of what is a more common fee for a full service listing experience, is probably not going to deliver all of the services that I showed you before. Remember, we went through all of the services, all of my marketing, all of those resources. That's going to cost me time and money before I even earn a dollar. Mm-hmm. And so, fair to say that they're likely not going to do all of that.
Fair.
Did they say they were going to show your listing every time? Because it's one thing that's different if you just take the listing, throw a lockbox on it. It's another to actually be here at the listing and sell your property for you. You're not hiring me to list it, you're hiring me to sell it.
True, but no, they said they wouldn't even be here for the show.
Oh. What about at the inspection? What about at any of the times where the deal could fall apart? Did they go through any of the risk factors of having poor representation?
Didn't even get there.
Okay. So we're really not talking apples to apples then?
Probably not.
So the 1% isn't really in the conversation.
Yeah, but I'm more comfortable paying 2.5.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I would never let commission get in the way of doing good business, but it's got to be good business. So here's what good business looks like to me, right? So I appreciate being here, and I think we've got some agreement on list price. By the way, if you didn't have agreement on list price, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Because if the seller had some list price in mind that I knew was not justifiably possible to achieve, and we took it easy on each other there, I would have said, look, I would rather tell you the truth now and say no to you than disappoint you later. If I agree to list your home at this price that I know is not achievable, that we have no factual basis, who has all the information that we have, the buyer's agents have it too. Nobody wants to overpay, not in a market where there's high supply and lower demand. And so that would be how I would respond to list price. As far as commission goes, I appreciate that you're trying to make your best deal. Mm-hmm. And that's fair. Of course, this is what I do for my living. Let me just ask you, what do you do for a living?
I'm an attorney.
You are? Okay. Do you often discount your fees?
Not very often.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
I do the same thing. By the way, what do you do for work? Share with me how you earn your money. Ask those words with share. Use that word share. Share with me how you earn, how you feed your family. Bring it back to that personal.
And I completely understand. I don't make people wrong for wanting a deal. It doesn't mean they're going to get one. Now, there are some people in this world that no matter what, they are not going to give you what you ask for, because there are some people that no matter what, they gotta extract some kind of something so they feel like they're getting a deal. There are people out there like that. And just know what you're getting yourself into, okay? So Ron, I said that I would never let commission get in the way of doing good business. And I can see that you are set on what you believe the fee should be. From my perspective, I just don't want to shortchange you any of the experience you could possibly have. And of course, you get what you pay for. And so, I showed you a full list of services. Are there any of these services I should remove?
That would be up to you.
Well, I want to deliver you the full experience, and for that, I would be paid in full. And so of these services, which ones should I remove is the question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you. I just don't want to pay 3%.
Okay. Well, how about this? I want your business. I want to take the listing. I think we can get it sold, and it's an important listing to me because it's going to help me with my business. So here's the deal I'm willing to make you. You ready for this one? I'll agree to do it for 2.5.
Okay.
But here's the deal. You're going to follow all my advice. We're going to agree to a price reduction in advance, because I'm working for free until we get to there. And you're also asking me now to do it for less. So I'm taking more risk. I've already demonstrated to you that I'm a great agent. I've got all these testimonials. You would believe, you agree that I'm the right agent for you?
Yeah.
By the way, if I couldn't negotiate for myself, how do you think I will do for you?
You better be able to negotiate for yourself.
Which is why I'm negotiating for myself, which is why I'm willing to meet you. I'm hoping you're going to meet the market when the market comes to your door. See, it's give and take for both of us.
Sure.
But here's what good business looks like to me. You'll follow my advice, and when we get to inspection, when we get to all of those things, you're not going to ask me to put any of my money into this if there's any kind of negotiation. I've already given it now.
Fair enough.
Okay? And because we both know that a buyer's going to come in and inspect, and there may be some deficiencies that they find. Every home has them. You have a lovely home. We're trying to offset that before, but if they do, I'm not putting a dime in.
Fair
You're asking me to do it now.
Fair enough.
And then once we close, you'll write me a fantastically glowing review, because you're going to have a tremendous experience, and you'll refer every single human being that you know to me for the rest of our lives. Sound fair?
Fair enough.
I'm not kidding. Those exact words will come out of my mouth. All of them. Don't ask me for any more money then. Not a penny. I'm agreeing to it now. Now here's the thing, we didn't sign that, we didn't make any sign in blood, but people do want to stay consistent to their commitments. And by the way, the stronger you are and the more you advocate for yourself, the more they'll respect you. The more likely you are to just fold, the less they will. They won't ever listen to what you say. They will ask you to keep giving because you gave the first time. There are takers in this world. Okay? And so if you can't at least stand up for yourself to some degree, I made a concession. He's going to maybe need to make some concessions too. We're in this together. I'm going to show good faith right now. But I'm expecting something for it. Okay? Would you answer that any other way?
No, it's exactly how.
Okay. So a family member is the listing agent. Okay. Great. By the way, do we do business with family?
Yes.
Absolutely we do. 100% we do. Why would we do business with family? Because nobody's going to take care of them like we will. Right? I had my former brother-in-law would say to me when we listed Stuart's house, he's like, well, I just don't, I don't want to run you guys around. I don't want to damage our family. I'm like, damage our family? Bro, I'm a pro. You're talking about damage our family. Who else is going to take better care of you than me? I'm your family. Okay? So this is a hard one. What I would probably ask, I would say, okay, no problem. I totally understand. I mean, it's family. I wouldn't want you to cause any problems inside of your family. Do they have the credentials? Do they have the experience? Do they have the track record? Do you trust them? I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't. There are some people who would rather hire a stranger. I know Eric's going on a listing appointment later that he drummed up through, that he drummed up, and it's for someone he doesn't know. They're going through a divorce. And I'm thinking to myself, total stranger going through a very difficult and stressful life event. How would you let a stranger do that? Well, if the stranger knows what they're doing, it might be better to have a stranger help you with something that's like so, difficult as a divorce. Maybe something better to not have a family member be involved in,
Let me add to that. So in the family member conversation, if you can determine that the family member is not qualified and doesn't have the ability to actually deliver the results that these people need, you can go down the path because they just want to save the relationship with their family member. You can go down the path of offering a referral fee to that family member.
Yeah.
Now again, I don't want you to take money out of your pockets, but I don't want you to lose business for a few dollars.
Yeah.
So go down that. If you have to go down that, offer that you can compensate or partner with that family member. Whatever you feel is the right way to go. But don't lose the business if you can get to that point and capture.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a customer, Jeff and Rachel. They were moving from New York. Well, my aunt is an agent. I said, I totally get that. I don't want you to mess up your relationship with your aunt. Tell me what's important to you having your aunt involved. Well, I just want to support her financially. I was like, I'll tell you what, how about we do this? I'll carve off a little bit of it. We'll throw her a bone. Would that satisfy her? Because ultimately, I still want you to have the best experience. Do you think that you'll get that with me or with her? I think I'll have it with you, but how do I deal with this? See, now you're helping solve the problem. Okay? All right. The most well-known agent in the neighborhood, right? We can't compete with what Lori called the dominant agent. Okay, so how do we deal with that one? I get it. That agent has been doing a lot of business. They do know the market. Here's the good news, though. This is how I would respond to it. Here's the good news. I don't have nearly as many things to do as he does, which means that I'm going to be able to give you the proper attention. You know, if you work with that person, I took a look. They do have a bit more listings than I do. Would you want to work with them? Tell me what's prompting you to want to work with them. Is it because you think they know the neighborhood better than I do? I mean, I just shared with you the comparables. You know, people have a false idea that they think the person who's done all the business knows the neighborhood best. To some degree, that's true, but not really. And how many of you have listed a home in a neighborhood you were never in before? I have, until I didn't know that neighborhood well until I got to know the neighborhood. Right? So I think that's the way you deal with that one. Do you have any other way?
Let me add to the well-known. I would go over and explain to them that the statistic that 95% of all listings get sold by another broker other than the listing broker. The really important question to ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is that who do you really feel comfortable handling one of the most important decisions and transactions in your life? Even though Jane has been sending out mailers every month, doesn't mean that Jane is the best person for you to work with. Now, I'm not saying she isn't, but let's really think about who is the best person to actually handle your situation. So go down that path. And by the way, Jane may have more listings, which means that she's not focused on your property. She's focused on whatever sells. Me, that I don't have 10 listings in here, I'm gonna be focused on your property selling, not the other 10.
Okay. Another agent told them what they wanted to hear, right? So that's the pricing conversation. Hey, well, this agent said that I can get this much for it. Okay. Well, do you believe them? And that's how I would, all right, do you believe that's true? I mean, anybody could tell you anything. In our business, what we call that is they're buying your listing. Meaning that they're gonna tell you what you wanna hear. Now, by the way, I always tell people in advance when I sit down with them, and Ron and I know it the same way, is I always tell them, listen, can I be direct and honest with you? One thing you'll know for sure when you hire me and Ron, because we always do this together, is we are never gonna lie to you. Now that might sound obvious, but would you be willing to believe that there are some agents who will? We will not. We will always tell you the truth, even if it means telling you something you don't want to hear. Is that okay? Will you be all right with that? We have the same goals, but I just want to make sure. Will you be okay if I tell you something that maybe isn't the popular opinion? So that way, by the time we get to this, I've already teed it up that I'm just going to tell you the truth, and I'm willing to actually walk away if you're willing to be lied to. So if somebody says the other agent told me it's worth more, I'd say, well, do you believe that's true? Did they actually produce facts? Did they show you their plan for how they're going to find a buyer who's going to pay more? I mean, you and I just went through the analysis. You tell me what I missed. You tell me, is there something they see that I don't see? Did they show you something that I didn't show you? All right. And I think that's it. Seller money out of pocket. I mean, there's not a lot we can do about that. You know, the only other way that I could offset the seller's going to have to bring money out of pocket is to just say, well, I get it, and you can continue to live here. How much longer do you want to live here? How much, is it worth it to you to delay the goal of selling your house? Whereas you could maybe, I get it, it's a hard thing to do, but come out of pocket because, you bought it at a time when property values were higher. Yeah, you're not going to recoup all the renovation costs. You're not going to recoup everything, that you over improved. You told me I could be honest with you, right? I get it that this is your taste. I get it that you love it, but you have over improved the house relative to the comparables. And so in order to sell, because your motivation to move is stronger, how much longer do you want to stay in the house then? Well, I'll wait for the market to come back. When is that going to be? Well, I don't know. Don't you know? I don't have any idea what's going to happen next week, next month, next year. I can, however, operate with you in the present moment. Okay. And then listing term, I think, is an easy one, because when you have a committed seller, you talked about how long they want to be on the market for. You talked about by when they want to no longer own the house. The term is easy, right? The term only matters if you have someone who wants to price their property. Ron and I used to go in, we would give people 3 prices, 3 listing prices. We give you this is the price to sell it today. We will go on the market. Today is Thursday. I can have pictures done in the morning. I get a listing built. We can get it on the market tomorrow afternoon. And I can get you an offer for this property by Sunday if you want to no longer own this house in less than 30 days. Or we can do, close in the average days on market for your neighborhood is 67 days. We can give you that list price. Or, if you want to sit on the market for 6 months, I guess we could talk about a price. But I don't think the term is really relevant, because I'm not trying to list your house for 6 months. I want to sell it this weekend. That's why term is not really something that's hard to negotiate with. And you should be very leery of someone who doesn't. Now, we suggest, to protect yourself, that you list a home for not less than 6 months. I can't imagine why anybody would say, I'm going to list this for a year, right? I can't imagine why anyone would do that. We've seen it happen. You know why that happens? Is because we've got a seller who wants to go on a fishing trip and an agent who's willing to be the bait. It's a bad plan. Now, it is true, and we'll leave you with this unless there's any questions we haven't answered. It is true that all sellers' minds change with time and circumstances. That is also true. Today, I'm cool. We don't have to sell it. I'm good. I'll take my time. We'll wait for the right offer. And then guess what? My wife is in my ear. We need to get the property sold. We need to get this going. Blah, blah, blah. No, we're good. We're going to wait. Because, I know better than the agent does. All right. All sellers' minds change with time and circumstances, which is why you don't want to go. I would not list for less than 6 months. If you have a seller who comes on, we've had some listings where a seller's like, I'll give you 30 days. I'm like, cool, then we need to list it here and I'll sell it this weekend. Well, I'm not doing that. I say, well, then I'm not taking your listing. You want to say no as often as possible. When the seller's position is not something that you can fulfill upon, if you're not in alignment, you want to walk away. All right, I think we've covered it.
Just one question. Anybody in the room has taken an overpriced listing? How was that experience?
And nobody likes it.
Horrible.
Never again.
Never again. So let me just remind you, hold on a second, come back. You agents that are new, that are trying to get your feet wet, that are trying to get yourselves into a community, that are trying to get some traction, it is not worth it. I'd rather you go find somebody that needs to transact, that is going to value your time, that is going to allow you to do your job. I'd rather you walk away than have the experience of taking an overpriced listing and ending up with that type of stress.
The only caveat to that is if there's another underlying motivation that will prompt them to change their mind sooner than later. Like if you've done a good job qualifying, right? Like, hey, I want to get this number, but I also have to pay for my kid's college education. I want to get this number, but I'm getting divorced, right? Like you can say, all right, look, I understand, like Ronnie said, I'll push. I want to get you the most possible. I work on percentage, which means I'm going to make more too, but we have to agree that after a certain time, we're no longer responding to the market. We're just wasting our time. I'm betting you don't want to waste your time, Mr. Seller. I definitely don't want to waste mine. It's all I have. Okay, we're good. Any questions? We covered it. All right, way to be here today. Congratulations. Go get those listings.